with our esteemed group of panelists, and also discuss the influence and impact of AI, which is... All right, thank you to everyone who's attending this webinar. I'm excited to engage in a vibrant discussion on how to enhance execution in stores across both operations and particularly visual merchandising with our esteemed group of panelists, and also discuss the influence and impact of AI, which is seems like it's the hottest topic in the world and in particular retail these days. We will be doing questions and comments, so please add them into the comment section as we will have Q&A at the end. My name is Sam KWON. I'll be your moderator, and I'm currently the Managing Director of Door Open LLC, a retail consultancy I started in 2017. I'm currently working with my primary client, which is Meta in the Reality Labs team within their Wearables and Metaverse product lines, supporting the Telco business channel and business development there. Previously, I've worked across all areas and sectors within retail with deep experience in buying, planning, sourcing, as well as presentation in store across numerous retailers ranging from West Elm, Macy's, Target, and Ralph Lauren, to name a few. So my most recent retail experience was leading project management and strategy and innovation at Target. Now I'll pass it on to our other esteemed panelists to introduce themselves as well.
Thanks, Sam, and thanks for inviting me to join this expert group and discussion and panel. Thank you again. I'm ALICIA Proctor. I am a consultant. I've created experiential consultancy called AP Visual Experience, and I focus on visual merchandising and store design. I'm a former executive director of visual merchandising and store design for Estée Lauder companies, LVMH, L'Oreal Luxe, Dermalogica. I'm also the board member of Retail Design Institute in the New York chapter.
Welcome, ALICIA.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good afternoon. My name is Kenny Anderson. I am happy to be here this afternoon to have this chat with this group. Looking forward to the discussion. I am currently the Chief Operations Officer for Gotham. Gotham is a New York-based concept retail store and environment where we carry a variety of different product categories from home goods, art, fashion, apparel, wellness products in the cannabis space as well, including fragrance and other fun categories. So I'm excited to be here and to bring my experience as well from my former companies with Giorgio Armani. May he rest in peace. Unfortunately, he passed away this morning, we learned. But I was with Giorgio Armani for several years as the Senior Vice President and General Merchandise Manager for Buying and Planning, as well as at Hugo Boss as well for the Americas, covering visual merchandising, retail planning, and buying. So looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Welcome, Kenny.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Sharjeel Ahmed, a co-founder and CEO of Pazo. Pazo is an AI-first retail operations and VM platform. I have around 20 years in the 20 years of experience in the IT industry, like creating software. That's my go-to thing for how I make money. So I've been in giants like Microsoft and Adobe, whose experience I brought into Pazo and build this product. Yeah, that's about it.
Hey guys, Nitin this side. I'm the Vice President of Global Business Development at Pazo, part of the leadership along with Sharjeel at Pazo, leading all the customer-facing business teams. I've been working with various brands all across the world to help them solve their retail merchandising and operational excellence problem, and that too at scale with Pazo. Happy to be here and happy to be sharing some of the use cases here with all of you. Thanks.
Well, we have a very packed group of panelists with lots of experience across the board within retail, from luxury to mass. So I'm ready to get the discussion started and really kind of set the stage for what we'll be discussing at length. So there's been an incredible amount of upheaval in the retail environment, particularly since COVID. I think that's kind of an understatement. if you read the headlines. Whether it's consolidations, tariffs, cost cutting, or more recently AI, all these factors are impacting executional excellence and more so the customer experience. Whether it's more front-facing visual merchandising or the more behind-the-scenes operations, the areas most affected by these changes is the brand and the customer experience, which ultimately downstream impacts the sales. Next slide. The industry seems to be stuck in its own feedback loop, which starts with poor sales leading to cost cutting, and often the first cut with the cost cutting is visual merchandising, which then in turn leads to poor customer experience and then brand deterioration, which then ultimately brings us back to poor sales. Alicia, I mentioned visual merchandising as one of the first casualties, at least in my experience, of the changing retail landscape that starts with the cost cutting. With your extensive background and expertise, can you share some deeper insights into this challenge on retail and the real impact?
Yeah, definitely. I can absolutely paint the picture of retail today. And if we can move to the next slide, I can show you an example of a beautiful guideline created. I know I have a lot of fellow visual merchandisers on this call, so thank you. Shout out to them, and thank you for joining the call. So this is a beautiful guideline created by a visual director or the visual team in a Levi's corporate office. This is sent to the field. Now, in the past, stores had visual merchandisers. They had regional visual merchandisers, and those teams would implement the guideline and execute the guideline with excellence, right? So today, we can move to the next slide. I can tell you also, this is a beautifully executed with excellence visual merchandising guideline. They had a team to work on this, a visual manager, in-store team. And, this works out very well. It looks beautiful. It's, consistent across the board. If you go to this chain, you will find the same setup in multiple stores. I can tell you from experience at Clinique North America, my team and I created 6 guideline books. Those guideline books were over 132 pages each, 5 times a year. So this is a huge undertaking. And I had 6,000 counters, no two alike. So I called them my snowflake counters. I had to take these books and develop training programs to go out in the field and train the field teams to execute these guidelines with excellence. And that worked very well. The training programs were excellent, but we're finding that in store, it's more difficult now with the reduction of staff and visual teams. So it's becoming more and more challenging to execute with excellence. But let's take a look at a few other brands that are doing this very well. This is a great example of Alo Yoga. They are doing extremely well in sales. They're expanding and they execute with excellence. They're very consistent. They're very clean. Of course, it's very simple, but they are very consistent. And they do have visual managers in store. They do have teams to execute their guidelines. Something I love this quote, is that products are just not placed, they're orchestrated. So there is a science and an art behind visual merchandising. We'll go to the next slide. Just some great examples of executing with excellence. Another Alo Yoga. Wish we could see this everywhere in store, but actually we see a lot of VM chaos. And what I see when I'm going into stores these days, and I'm sure that many of you are seeing the same, is as I'm looking as a consultant or as a consumer, I'm seeing basically a mess, that retail is in a crisis. And with reduced staff in store and reduced VM teams, this is leading to poor execution and causing not only declining sales, lack of consistency and brand equity. And, it's really disappointing as somebody myself who loves to shop, when you go into a store and you can't find your size and there's no storytelling and there's really no merchandising, it's very discouraging. So that's what I'm finding. I'm sure a lot of you are too. Kenny, what are some of the operational challenges that you're facing from where you sit in your role?
Yeah, I mean, just taking a look at those images, even these new ones that are going up right now, they're very indicative of like what is a significant challenge. I mean, one of the things that I've often experienced in my past and even today is just a lack of support for ensuring that the customer visual presentation is consistent. So when they walk in and into our environment, they're getting the best of the best. And sometimes it's very hard to maintain, particularly when you have a leaner staff. And these are a bit extreme. So some of these images are coming from big box retailers, I imagine. And in those instances, there are fewer people to support large chains. And in my current experience, but also in my past, I mean, I've always had a lean VM team, which has tied into both the retail operation side of things to ensure the customer experience is great. And what has been extremely difficult is just being able to be consistent. Particularly when you have different store locations, no box is the same. So the fixturing is also very rarely the same. You try to as much as possible, but you know, our store design team can always get creative, and so therefore they switch things up a bit. And so having that consistency across the VM world and in all of the retail spaces is a challenge, along with the ability to review what is the ideal VM standards, which you spoke to a little bit earlier. After creating that VM book guideline, you want for sure those depictions of the brand to be the same across the board, but that is quite hard to do and to execute on and to do it in real time. And we struggle with that as well at Gotham. Even though we have fewer stores, it is still a challenge because I have a very small VM team. And ensuring that the execution is done immediately and that it makes sense for both a selling perspective as well as for a customer interaction perspective, having that consistency there is always a challenge, along with inventory. You know, when you're dealing with inventory challenges, which are quite common, and if you're running out of a bestseller and you want that to be front and forward, but you only have a few pieces left, what do you do with that? We struggle with that as well. And so these are certainly some depictions of what goes on, and you know, it's no different. It's no different from what I experienced in my fashion world at Armani, at Hugo Boss, but certainly here at Gotham it's similar in terms of, you know, how do we display product in a fresh way, regularly, consistently, where you also are not trying to confuse a client when they walk in. If they're a regular and they know exactly where that item was that they shopped last week, how do you make sure it doesn't end up somewhere else where they're like, oh, you don't have it anymore, or you lost it? Like, there's always a little bit of a game that you play there, and we deal with that on a regular basis. So for sure, we experience some of these challenges.
Kenny, I can't help but hearing, you know, you go through that litany of challenges and the things that Alicia went through. Like what struck me again is like that term orchestrated. You know, it's the back room to the visual, you know, highlighting the brand and that extreme orchestrated coordination that needs to happen. And it just seems like these days
Right.
with everything being kind of, you know, death by a thousand cuts. I hate to use the cost cutting analogy, but it is seems like it's like a death by a thousand cuts. So how do we get to how do we find that coordination and kind of stem some of that piece of it? I guess is the real question.
Yeah, that is the question, right? That's the question that we're trying to answer, and I'm sure many others as well, particularly from an operations standpoint, as well as how closely connected it is to VM. And one approach, and it's just one that we decided to adopt here at Gotham, is I'm big on threes. I feel like 3 is the magic number to everything because it makes it easier to like focus and to be sure to get the team to be aligned on, you know, what it is that we have to accomplish. And we can always add a fourth moment or fourth directive in, but after we've completed and or accomplished one of the 3. But this is a template that we use to just stay focused for the now and dealing with some of these challenges on the operations side. One is to, when you're lean, which we are, is to really eliminate the redundancies and to cut out the things that don't add brand value, particularly when it comes to the customer, which is our number one priority at the end of the day, and I'm sure it is for many other retailers out there. If it doesn't benefit the customer and we're spinning our wheels just trying to make it work, we cut it out. Point blank, because it doesn't make sense to waste that time and energy, particularly when you are leaner on resources. So we focus only on value-driving initiatives, number one. Number two, would you agree,
Yeah,
Alicia?
I think 100%. That makes sense.
Number two, I think anytime you have a challenge of trying to focus on execution in these times where everyone is trying to figure out what is the best way to get ahead and or even just stay status quo, you have to absolutely look at the use and capabilities of technology. And this is one thing that we absolutely embrace here at Gotham. And it's a little bit easier for me to do here. I've always used technology in other with other companies, but here we're able to be more nimble. So we embrace technology significantly, from FRID to managing our inventories a little bit better, swifter, cleaner, more efficient, to also the use of Pazo, which is the part of the discussion that's happening today from a task management perspective, things of that nature, the ability to track compliance and to ensure that our teams are adhering to the guidelines that we put in place. We've decided to leverage technology in a variety of ways. And one of them is with Pazo and other tools to make sure that we can actually make our jobs a little bit easier, because we need that efficiency. We don't have all the resources available, and we're a pretty decent sized team, but it's really hard to accomplish all the things in retail that we know we encounter on a regular daily, weekly, monthly basis. So the best thing that we have decided to do is bring technology into the fold and embrace it. And that is something that, from a change management perspective, is something that I'm constantly working with our team on to adapt to these tools and to make them a part of our everyday DNA best practices. And then thirdly, I think another way that we try to manage through is, empowering the team to be owners of the business and owners of their department, owners of their section, owners of, their store. And by giving them that ability to make those decisions, it allows for us to move faster. We don't have to go through a significant amount of red tape, which can often happen in some larger organizations, not all. But we kind of focus on these three things to make the process a little bit easier, smoother for us to manage through some of the difficult times. Again, with customer always being number one is our focus.
Sounds really smart.
Well, I think that's amazing that you're piloting an all-in solution to both operations and particularly visual merchandising, as together they kind of go hand in hand. And I love the fact that as a smaller, more nimble organization, you're, kind of first to market, trying to get ahead of things, knowing that, the terrain is unknown. Because as we've all been part of bigger organizations as well as smaller organizations, the bigger the organization, the more complication, the more coordination, the more orchestration that you need. And I think leveraging those three tenets that you talked about, Kenny, streamlining, reducing redundancy, and leveraging technology, as well as using that technology to empower your staff, I think are critical. That said, I think that's a perfect segue to Sharjil, who's our tech expert on the panel. Sharjil, I know you're the founder of Pazo. Can you share how, through your tech experience, you've empowered Pazo to kind of be a solution for some of these challenges, how Pazo really came to being, and how you see it as a gateway through technology to getting to executional excellence?
Thank you, Sam. So one of the things at the early days of, before I started Pazo, one of my retail friends, he came up to me and told me that the main focus of any retailer is to sell more, right? That should be the main focus, right? But what do? We end up doing a lot of paperwork. We end up sending reports. We end up setting up the store. There's back and forth and all that stuff, right? So a lot of time goes into things which does not help them sell more, right? So this is the fundamental reason behind what Pazos, right? So at the end of the day, a retailer should focus on one and only one thing to sell more on an everyday basis, right? Uh, now, of course, we talk about technology. Now, everybody talks about AI. You go to anyone, you go to your mom, you go to anybody, you go to your boss. Everybody's like, "What's new with AI? What's happening with AI? Are you doing something with AI?" And if you're doing something with AI, is it really, really helpful, right? Is it creating value or is it doing fluff? Is it just generating AI images which have no value, or is it actually making a difference in how you work, right? That should be the fundamental philosophy of any AI based product. On the other side, there are these people who have this fear who say that AI is taking away jobs. No, my answer to them is AI will not replace you. People with AI will replace people who do not use AI. That is what it is today, right? You are not going to get replaced just like that, but you will get replaced if in your daily day-to-day work, in the things you do, in the tools you use, are you using AI to make things faster, right? So that is the fundamental of any AI product. Is it making a difference? Is it something which I need? Is it a tool which I need to use, right? So that's very important, right? So Pazo, as I said, is an AI first platform for visual merchandising execution. Of course, Alicia is the expert here. She can tell me that how much back and forth happens between the VM office and the store. It's very easy if you have one store, two store. What happens if you have 5 stores, 10 stores? We have a customer who has 100+ stores. How do you ensure that each and every store is consistent? Um, you know, uh, Everybody remembers a famous McDonald story. McDonald is the way it is today because they maintain consistency in their processes. Every store across the world, every restaurant or what, a food chain across the world, McDonald's follows the same process. And that is the success for, such a billion-dollar brand, right? So same thing when it comes to our stores, how do we ensure that things are happening? So how does Pazo AI work? You have the VM guidelines, you send it across to the store, they execute it. Now, what Pazo does is a person at the store needs to take a photo of the display once he or she has set it up, right? Pazo AI automatically verifies whether the guidelines have been adhered to or as in place, right? Immediately it flags the issues, assigns it to the person to fix it, and the person needs to go back and fix it and upload a photo, and AI tells, yes, this is done, right? Now imagine you have 100 stores and each of these stores submit 10 photos. How many photos? That makes it, you can do the math, 1,000 photos. It is humanly impossible for one or few people to look at each and every one of these photos to ensure the AI guidelines have been matched. Now with Pazo, this happens in a matter of seconds. Immediately you can get all this, right? So this is how we solve, this is how AI actually solves the problem. It is not just a fluff in our product where, we have AI, everybody says we have AI. And when you see it really, really does not really make a difference. We actually save hours and hours of work so that you can focus on what you should be doing, that is selling, right? So that's the fundamental. Yeah, cool. Next slide. Now, of course, the stores are executing, everything is happening, but from the head office or from the headquarters, how do you ensure all your stores are actually following guidelines? So we have a dashboard where you see store by store. It's an interactive dashboard. So though you cannot make it out from here. Each of these graphs are interactive where you can click on the graph, go deep into it, figure out what the problem is. We believe in a philosophy called manage by exceptions. Only if there's a problem you should look into it. Otherwise, don't break your head what's happening. Let AI do the heavy lift. You should focus only if a store is consistently failing or having a problem, so that your focus can go on those stores where there is a problem, right? So this way the head office has a complete view, complete visibility on each and every store. We have customers which have 1,000+ stores, and they can manage it so easily only using Pazo.
This is a lot better than the folder system I was using back when I was managing visual.
Yes, yes. You have to click on each and every folder, look at each and every photo.
It was like folder for the store, then in the
Yes.
folder was good execution, then okay,
Okay.
then not so good.
Yep.
Anyway, sounds
Yes,
amazing.
Exactly, right.
Yeah,
Everything is now seamless, where it works flawlessly. The great part about this, even the frontline workforce who may not be, the greatest users of technology, or they may not be, may not be to a level which they may use. It's very, very easy for them to use. If you can use your WhatsApp or iMessage or a phone, anybody who can use a smartphone can use Pazo in the front. That's the best part. Yeah. Cool. So 3, as Kenny says, 3 is a magic number. I have, 3 things to talk about. Visual consistency with AI, 3 seconds visual merchandising analysis with planogram verification, AI guided feedback, batch processing, which is very important. You have 1,000 images, 10,000 images, 100,000 images, does not matter. AI does it in a jiffy. And auto flagging of non-compliance. We raise a ticket, assign it to the right person, ensure that person has done a job. You don't have to call each and every one person and tell them to do it. Smart store execution, we have digital checklists. Checklists ensure that the task is being done on time. It's not enough that, your VM guidelines are met on day 1 and on day 3, everything is messed up. So we ensure on a daily or regular basis, the things are being done on time from the right place. They're not uploading old photos. We have ensure that, real-time photos are uploaded. Pre-journey plan is a very important feature where you have store visits. You may have your auditors, you may have your district managers, you have area managers who are visiting stores on a regular basis. You can ensure that they're visiting the store, ensuring the guidelines are being met. And QR code incident-based reporting, any problem at the store, a ticket can be raised immediately and, things can be fixed, right? Complete operations visibility, real-time dashboard with tailored insights, performance scorecards, which store is doing well, which store is not doing well, which store is messing up, everything is visible now. With analytic across locations, departments, individuals. Now, the frontline workforce, previously you could not put a KPI on him or her. Now you can ensure, you can reward him, you can even reward them. It's not about, just telling the mistakes. You can reward the person who's actually ensuring these things are happening. Previously, this was not measurable. It was very difficult to measure. Today, you can actually reward these people, right? So that's the power of Pazo.
I couldn't agree more, particularly with the rewarding system, because we've implemented that here as well at Gotham, and it's a fun competition across the stores of like who completes the task first. They get a nice prize at the end, but it's interesting to watch the embracing of the tool and also the transition from manual over to digital to make things faster. It takes some time, and some stores are embracing it faster than others, but what is great is that we're saving time, we're saving money, we're saving energy as well, and we get the benefit of seeing compliance right away, whether it's done or not. I think that's been a win so far, and it's still in the early stages.
And it's clear transparency, right? A person who was working hard all this while, who was not visible technically, you may not know who he is. Today, he's being recognized. He's coming on top, right? He feels appreciated. That's very important in today's world.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it sounds like, AI really is that support network and support system. So that's an interesting point of view that you started off with, Sharjil, around it's not about AI replacing the person. It's really replacing the person that's not utilizing AI.
Yes.
Because based on what you're describing and just like the dashboards and how it kind of is that support mechanism, it's not just a gentle reminder, but also a way to enhance and increase productivity and execution.
Right. So to put it in short, AI is not your competition, it's your companion, right? So that's how it is, how it should be looked at. Yeah. Anything else after this? Cool. These are just some examples, right, of real examples of how things were before, and the head office had zero visibility. It's possible the front fascia, everything is fine, but the back, the back rows are completely messed up. There was zero visibility on this. Now, with Pazo, there's almost a 98% planogram consistency across those, right? That's a huge number. Previously, there was 50, 60, and there was zero visibility on it, and you could really not know whether the pictures are even, the latest ones. With Pazo, you can ensure the pictures are latest. The adherence has been met, and it does not matter if there are 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 photos. Everything is now being checked. Previously, it was humanly impossible. Now it's very easy. Yeah. There were, of course, manual errors. People used to follow the guidelines to the best of their abilities, but even as humans, you could not decipher a few things. Now AI can tell you, okay, this is actually wrong. Though you have the guideline actually says this, right? Previously, even humans could not figure out small changes. Even a person who's looking at verifying whether the adherence has been done, they could not. There was fatigue set. They could not see each and every this thing. Now everything's almost 76% of the reduction in manual errors has been, seen. Yep. Audit compliances used to take ages. I know some of the audits got postponed. Some of the bigger store audits used to take a month, 2 months to ensure that all the 100% audit compliance is done. Now it's very fast, consistent, 100% transparency. Even the person doing the audit now has to, ensure that, things are being done. He or she cannot just check mark things and say, okay, this is done. There is no clear transparency even in audit, and it gets completed almost at half the time it used to take before.
Wow.
Great.
I mean, those are some impressive numbers.
Yep.
I want to kind of just, I know we're running short on some time right now, but I do want to open up for questions. I don't see a lot of questions in the comments area, but I had a few questions that I wanted to ask based on some of the comments that you had, Giorgio. So, I was kind of struck by we're not focused on, we're just focused on the outliers versus, what's working. Within Pazo, can you set parameters around, 70% there, 80% there, and only be notified of the ones that aren't even meeting like a 70% threshold?
Right.
Is that something that Pazo is able to do?
Yes. So we don't hard code anything. You have complete control over how the planogram should be compliant, how much it should be compliant, whether it's 99%, 95%, or can the colors be different? It's not just a blind comparison. You can say, okay, the colors can be different, but the positioning should be the same. You can say, okay, but colors should match and the positioning match. You can go to granular detail on how the AI should verify. That's the best part about it. It's not like AI randomly decides, okay, this is good or not. You can specify the guidelines in detail, and you can put a threshold. Okay, below 95% is completely fine with me. Above 95% is completely fine with me. Below 80% is not fine, right? You can put these parameters. That's the best part.
That's incredible.
Completely customizable.
I think, that really kind of opens it up because, a lot of the examples that we looked at was for soft lines. And I think being able to kind of flex the level of compliance really opens it up more, gives it more accessibility to the hard lines categories and very, very strict planogram adherence. So that's super cool.
Right.
I think there's some members that want to ask questions. Can you explain just how they put in the chat what they need to do? Or just text?
So they can just comment on the LinkedIn post, whoever is following us, and we'll be happy to pick up those questions. So anyone listening to this, you can just type out your questions that are there in the comments box.
We do have one question that came through. What's the one underrated element of store design that has the biggest impact on sales? I think that may be directed more towards ALICIA or Kenny.
Well, that's a very broad question. Thank you for that. That's a tough one. I think it would depend on the brand and the category. I mean, you know what I've always found throughout my career in the beauty industry is really like thinking about the cash wrap and what products you're going to place on the cash wrap as a grab and go sale. Also looking at your traffic flow and what products you place in those areas depending on your demographic and your traffic flow. So I think I always look at store design and visual merchandising with that lens in mind. And also that can change, you know, post-pandemic or just looking at the demographic. I don't know if that answered your question, but that was a good one.
Okay. We only have about 6 minutes left, so I'm just going to give everyone another minute or two to just throw a question out there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. Like Alicia, like in your experience, have you turned, seen, you know, VM changes have turned around the sales or, you know, the growth of any product? Can you give
Have
some
I seen
examples?
it? Yes. I mean, all the time. I have had so many examples. I can say just from a launch of holiday and distorting all the stores for holiday, each year we were up 50% over prior year, which is huge. That was 50% of the sales for the entire year at Clinique North America. Looking at launches for a major launch, for example, Moisture Surge 72 hour at Clinique North America, we were up plus 55% over last year. And that's really looking at that, the merchandising collateral, mapping and zoning with the teams and merchandising the stores correctly. So it depends on, you know, what's happening, the launch and the promotion, I would say, but definitely, you know, measured results going in stores with training and then looking at the sales after, they were up double digits many times. So it does impact sales.
So
yeah.
That's important.
We have a few more questions that have come through that I do want to get to. Question is, does Pazo have the ability to integrate with in-store security video feeds to monitor ongoing compliance?
Okay, that's a good question. I'm not supposed to be talking about this, but the plans are afoot. We have already done it with a major manufacturing plant to, you know, with the CCTV cameras. We have not put it live out yet because it takes a lot of back and forth. We want it to be, you know, really good before it's, you know, market ready, because cameras have different standards. People place cameras in different places. It has a logistical thing. We need to solve all those issues. But yes, we have done it as a, you know, proof of concept. We can even, if, you know, somebody really is interested, can ping us. We can show you some examples of how, you know, the results are. It's brilliant. Nobody even has to fill a checklist. Everything is done on its own, and, you know, things are highlighted. But we have, you know, that's very much possible. And, you know,
so it looks
not
like
it's not just theory. We have actually done it. Yes.
Okay, so it looks like it's in pilot mode right now, but not ready for general consumption. Next question is, this is a very interesting tool. In addition to is this in addition to the directives, or is it a total program, directives, and follow-ups? So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the directives could be embedded into the app itself, and then it would be used as a so it is an all-in, but it can also be programmed to be an add-on as well. Is my perspective. Giorgio, is that correct?
Yes. So you can do back and forth. The AI can tell, okay, can you fix this? This is done. I know these are the problems. So it's not just directive, it's also the whole follow-up mechanism.
Okay.
I know for
So basically
us at Gotham, we have had a significant amount of manual processes, SOPs that were in place prior to us deciding to look at this tool to transition all of those manual checklists and tasks on a daily basis from each of our store team members over into this. So the idea is that, yes, it becomes fully integrated, and the follow-up can happen within that tool as well, which has already started. So I can speak to that at least.
I know we have a few more.
Yeah, just to give you an idea, right, Sam, just to quickly conclude on that question, right from uploading the directives over on Pazo to executing it, and as I think we have seen at Gotham as well, the point that Kenny was talking about, which is the whole closing the loop. I think that's very important because let's say if the directive is not compiled or not efficient enough, then you would need to close the loop in terms of the feedback coming in from the store and the back and forth to happen. The entire process seamlessly, along with the inclusion of AI, happens over in parallel. Yeah.
All right, we have a few more questions, but I did promise Nitin a few minutes at the end. But Alicia, I'll let you go, and then we're going to hand out to Nitin so he can kind of close out.
May I just ask a couple of questions of some of my Retail Design Institute questions? Okay, one question is from Tobias Harris. Hi, Tobias. How does this product work in a brand that is very fast product movement and high volume, like a fast-paced environment? Do you want to take that, Sam, or?
Well, it sounds to me like the speed is up. It's not the app speed; it's really the user speed. So, when we're talking about fast moving, if things are changing daily, they can be audited daily. If things are changing weekly, obviously that gives more time. I think there is the task component. It sounds like on the backside. So, it's all a matter of frequency. So every task can be set to hourly, it can be set to daily. We didn't talk about hourly. I think we were mainly focused on daily tasks and weekly tasks and potentially monthly tasks. But this can be set to the hour from a compliance and a support execution standpoint.
Great.
So yes, I do think it works very good for slow or fast moving environments.
Sounds like it. And then I thought this is a great question also. So Sophia asks, what can humans do that Pazo hasn't quite figured out how to do yet?
I have no answer. That stumped me. I need to figure that out myself here. So yeah.
Well, my thought there is, I do have an answer though, is that so within the app itself, there is the interplay, the back and forth that Sharjil mentioned and Nitin as well. And I think that's where the ability to add comments and upload images to tasks, which wasn't explicitly covered, I think is where that humans can do things that Pazo hasn't figured out how to do yet, because you can aggregate feedback from hundreds of stores, hundreds of VMs, and then use that information to provide better direction. And so that human interaction that happens in real time is something that Pazo can facilitate, but hasn't figured out how to action against. It can facilitate it, but it can't action against it. So that is a really good question. But the app itself allows for comment and image upload, which then allows for that to be aggregated and to have dialogue in real time.
Amazing. So cool. One more question here, and then we'll turn it over to Sharjil. If you had to pick one principle for effective merchandising in the next 5 years, what would it be? I'd like to just take that one quickly. I would say, know your customer. Know your customer.
Very important, very important.
Yes. And I'm happy to hear anyone else's comments there. Great. I think we covered the questions.
Nitin, do you want to close it out? Because I think that's the last question that we had.
Sure. I think, thank you so much for this. I think in the interest of time, I think I've absolutely really enjoyed the entire conversation as an audience. And I think everyone beautifully covered in terms of the challenges that's been there at a visual merchandising at an operational level. Happy to see that how we are thriving in with Gotham. Thank you, Kenny, for citing some of these examples. Alicia bringing the expertise. Guys, today, anyone who's listening to me, if you're a retailer, if you're a consumer brand, if you have more than 10, 15, 10 stores, one of the points that Sharjil earlier mentioned is when you have a couple of stores or you have 2 or 3 stores, you can still run the business on trust. But the problem of trust is it's not scalable. So anything which comes in terms of your operations, in terms of your daily visual merchandising execution, you would need a digital intervention. You would need a tool to go ahead and to fill that particular gap so that you don't end up wasting a lot of your time. And that is exactly where Pazo comes in and beautifully fills in that gap. We are working with one of the biggest brands all across the world. Some of the names are there on your screen. I'm pretty sure they don't need any introduction. Working with Jockey, Victoria's Secrets, Bata, Gotham, CBRE, a bunch of facility management companies, a bunch of retail companies. Anywhere where you have a very heavy ops business, you have a lot of manual follow-up. And especially if you have a particular visual merchandising team as of the day today, one of the points that Kenny and Alicia spoke about, which is whether be it a small team or be it a big team, There's a bunch of follow-ups that you would have to do. There's a bunch of task management that needs to be done that can only be done using a digital tool. Otherwise, there's a prone to error, and that's exactly where Pazo comes in. Right? If you can just go to the next slide. So one of the biggest thing that we are doing is that we are present at Shop Talk in Chicago later this month from 14th to 20th September. I'm in San Francisco right now, meeting a bunch of retailers, talking to a bunch of tech giants and other players in the market. So if you're at any of these cities during these particular dates, just do go ahead and type out your name in the chat or just scan this QR, book some time. Happy to speak to you over a coffee. We can discuss. If you're a retailer, especially if you're leading operational team, I think it is going to be a really important conversation with you. And if anyone listening to me who's probably going to be at Shop Talk, do drop in a note. We'll be happy to spend some time talking to you, and we can actually help you with a free audit for any of your stores that will help you understand the operational gaps that are there. So happy to help anyone who's been listening to this. You can connect with me over on LinkedIn, with the panel as well. You can drop in your comment, and you can always scan the QR code and meet at any of these cities during this entire month. So I think, Sam, that's it from my end. I hope that people and everyone listening to us today would have utilized the information given. Any closing thoughts, Sam? Over to you.
No, I think it was a really great discussion. Appreciate everyone, dialing in, videoing in. I think it's been highly informative, especially as a way as we deal with, the retail changing landscape together in all of our different capacities. I think, what we've learned is that there are strong technologically forward AI using solutions that can provide some relief, as well as provide that catalyst to maintain visual merchandising operations and brand. So thanks, everybody. Thank you to the panelists again for all your insights. And we look forward to hearing from you and working with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Please stay in touch.
Host you guys again. Please stay in touch. Love to host you guys again sometime. Hopefully we'll catch up.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to the panel for having us. Thank you. There's also a small video for everyone who's still out there. You can actually go ahead and you can watch it out. We'll also leave you as a comment on the LinkedIn post. Check out more from a functionality of how does the Pazo AI
Right, yeah.
thank you everyone to the panel. I'll see you at various conferences across the US. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining, everyone.